Okay, that's the intro, but let's just go through the specs. Focus Pro 30K optical sensor. You're gonna get the Gen 3 optical switches. Razer Synapse. I don't know why they're showing that off on the box. Look at this, man. Compatible with Razer Mouse Dock Pro and Razer wireless charging pad for wireless charging, sold separately. Let me just go ahead and search how much that is. It is 70 goddamn dollars, okay, man? So on top of this being 130, you gotta pay another 70. That's 200 total to get a mouse with the charging dock. The EC Wireless series, this is a mouse that people also complain about the price, but you get the charging dock with it and it works out the box. No puck, no nothing. Of course, there is the disparity in features in these two mice, but I mean, it's up to you to decide really. I'm taking this for 150 over this for 200 to get the charging dock any day. So the build, you get these newly designed skates, you got the sensor ring and the puck. I wonder who they got this design from. Let me know in the comments below if you know who they got this design from. A welcome addition though is the power modes. You do get Bluetooth 2.4 mode, which most people are going to use, but you know, if you do want to carry this mouse around, maybe use it for school, maybe use it on your iPad or your laptop, you do get the Bluetooth. Rest of the build, you get this underglow RGB that you can see, non-removable rubber side grips. You get the new like shiny plastic. This is obviously a redesign towards the Basilisk series. You get 2 DPI buttons, Gen 3 clicks. Side buttons are nice too. You get the scroll wheel RGB, you get the Razer logo RGB. Am I the biggest fan of RGB? Not really, but I understand what they were going for. You know, they want to target a wider audience with this mouse. So yeah, here's the Razer Viper Mini Wireless you always wanted, right? Let's just see how much it weighs. So yeah, 77 grams. I'm not the biggest fan. You know, I have the EC2CW, and this is obviously around the same weight, about 77, 78 grams. And the Viper Mini, Viper Cobra is 77 grams. So if I like it here, why don't I like it here? Well, this is just like slightly bigger shape. Of course, it doesn't look like that side to side, but like volumetrically too, like this is a taller mouse with the ergo hump. I use the EC2C and the EC3C a lot. So, you know, they're in the same ballpark weight range. So going from the EC2C, which is around 75 grams, to the EC2CW around 78, 77, it's like a natural transition, right? It makes sense. My theory is that with wireless mice, you should aim for the same exact weight that your wired model is. You know, you want to give your user a seamless transition. If your user buys a Razer Cobra wired or the Viper Mini and they say, I really like this mouse, but I want to transition to the wireless. If you give them a significant weight difference, you are ruining that transition experience that the user could have. You know, when I transition from the EC2C to the EC2CW, you just get a smooth transition. You know, the weight isn't an issue if the weight is similar to the wired. Here, on the other hand, you're going from 58 grams to 77. That's almost a 20 gram difference. Not to mention that the EC2CW's weight balancing is just amazing. Here on the other hand, you have a small mouse for claw grip and fingertip grip, and it just feels super dense, you know, if this small shape is 80 grams. So yeah, that's my overall feelings on just the specs, but I just think Razer fumbled really badly here, because if this was just 60 to 65 grams, I don't think anyone would have really batted an eye. This is still a great mouse, a good product even, but obviously this rendition of the Viper Mini Wireless that we've all been waiting for is going to make people scratch their heads a bit, you know? Let me just go over what my qualms with this mouse really is. So I'm gonna take it all the way back, you know, 2020, the Viper Mini era, right? The Viper Mini comes out, everyone loves it. I just happen to have the Hello Kitty version here. Absolutely dripped out of my mind, right? This was an insane mouse at the time. You know, you got a small shape. It was around 60 grams. What I really remember at the time was that this was Razer's budget competitor to the Final Mouse Ultralight 2. So around that time, Final Mouse is also gaining a lot of traction, right? And they have the Ultralight 2, but you gotta drop like what, like $150, $200 on that thing? Meanwhile, Razer has this mouse, like 40 bucks. Most of the time it's 20 bucks on sale, and it's pretty similar shape size. I wouldn't say similar shape because obviously there's a lot of differences in the shape, but like if you couldn't get the Ultralight 2 and you wanted it, just get this, right? So yeah, obviously a lot of people who played FPS games, they gravitated towards this mouse. People just wanted a wireless version, or at least an updated version that fixed the sensor issues. If you don't know, the sensor has like this crazy issue with LOD. I even have this tape on it to try to combat the issues. Next up, the Viper V2 Pro comes out, right? It's just the Viper Ultimate with just like this complete makeover. Let's just say it's just like their super light version of the Viper Ultimate, right? The super light came out, Razer was like, damn, we gotta do something. They come out with this, 58 grams. It's great. Later, the hyper pulling dongle comes out. So not only did they do a super light makeover, but they exceeded the performance of the super light. So at this point in time, people are wanting this makeover on this mouse. This is years ago. So what does Razer do next? We get the Death Adder V3 Pro instead. which is fine. I mean, yeah, you want to update the Death Adder V2, right? That thing is super outdated. You wouldn't want to design a mouse on the Death Adder V2, right? Or the Viper Ultimate, right? Well, that's where you get the Viper Cobra, which is, in their words, a Viper Ultimate style edition of the Viper Mini. Okay, so basically you already know I don't think this mouse makes much sense. I would have preferred a little shape update with the flaring being too aggressive. The rubber grips are fine in my opinion, but I think they should be removable and Razer should sell some spares. The main gripe with these is that these things burn down. You've seen it on the G703, you've seen it on the Viper Ultimate. I just looked it up and the Viper Ultimate came out in 2019, late 2019. So this is now almost a 4-year issue that we know of, and Razer has provided you with no innovation. Like over 4 years, I feel like you could have improved the rubber side grip issue. Like you could have made this panel removable and offered plastic panels and replaceable rubber panels. You could have just made grip tape like you did on the Viper V2 Pro, you know, and sell extra grips online, but they did nothing. This is just what you get. You got it from the Viper Ultimate. You know the issues that it has. RGB, again, you know, I don't really care as long as it doesn't compromise the performance, but it does, you know. If I want to perform like I did on the Viper Mini, you know, you kind of can't, because this weighs a considerable amount more. And I quote from Razer TheFiend, who's been replying on social media, and honestly, I think it's kind of just a bad look. No disrespect to Razer TheFiend or any of the Razer employees, but you already know what the response on this mouse is going to be. It's not going to be positive. You guys didn't innovate at all. You designed it after, you know, a mouse that's going on 4 years of age now. And yeah, it's not what people were looking for who like the older model. So I don't know why you should try to die on this hill. But what he said is, we can't make everyone happy with every product. We started working on the requested ultimate small mouse 2 years ago based on the community assertion that mini mice shouldn't be budget version of the regular size offerings, which is why Cobra has a similar feature set as the Viper Ultimate, but updated. You know, he's talking about the new sensor, 4K, Gen 3 opticals, while keeping the same MSRP. Cobra Pros for people that were unhappy that the Viper V2 Pro gave up on the dock, the extra buttons, rubberized grips, and yes, RGB too. Most people don't want their mice to be completely devoid of features. For fans of featureless ultralight mice, we also made the Signature Edition. Okay, first of all, no one wants to buy the Signature Edition. You have to wait for it to get back in stock, and it's $289. Like, goddamn, go buy a Nintendo Switch or something. In my opinion, that's not a point anyone should be making. Now, the devoid of features comment, he's saying this is a mouse devoid of features, right? So where is the price difference coming between these two mice? If this is devoid of features, it should cost less than this, right? Because you've taken the features out. You know, to make this mouse, you need to make the extra rubber grips, you need to make the dock pieces, you need to put in the RGB. There's just more plastic because it weighs more, right? Well, how is this 130 and this is 150? It doesn't make sense. In my opinion, this is just price manipulation because Razer knows that, okay, the FPS nerds, they're gonna pay 150 for this. They wouldn't pay 160, 170 for this, the casuals, right? If we get the Viper Mini V2 Pro style mouse that people want, then absolutely no one is going to buy the Signature Edition, right? Because that would cost $150 and the Signature Edition is $280. The $130 difference is going to just kill all the sales of the Signature Edition. So Razer has made a mistake with the Signature Edition by pricing out a ton of people, and they're kind of doubling down on it by making the Cobra intentionally separate from the Signature Edition. And the last part of the comment really just makes it seem like, yeah, if you wanted that Viper Mini wireless in a reasonable weight range compared to the original weight of the Viper Mini, you gotta get the Signature Edition. You got no option. You know, it feels like if they were in touch here, they would have priced this around 100 to 130, and they would have priced this higher at 130 to 150. You know, he also says in that comment, we can't make everyone happy with every product. My question is, why not? I feel like as a big company, your job is to innovate. I don't know, if you're looking at a product and you're saying, okay, should we make it for casual consumers or should we make it for FPS consumers or enthusiast consumers? Like, as a big company, do you really have to pick one side of the line? Why can't you innovate and try to combine both sides? It just kind of feels weird, and it kind of feels like Razer basically saying, if you're a casual consumer, we're not going to give you innovation. We're going to give you a 4-year-old model with a slight refresh. And the counterpoint is his point that, well, actually, this is the updated sensor with the Gen 3 opticals. Well, it wouldn't have mattered if this came out with the Viper Ultimate internals without 4K. You know, you're saying this is for the casual consumer. Well, the casual consumer doesn't give a damn about 4K, right? This is really for the casual consumer. Put the Viper Ultimate internals in there, drop the price to 100. So yeah, Razer didn't really take it a challenge to try to combine both worlds and really try to innovate something that would have been really cool to see, right? And I'm gonna go a bit further to even say that, you know, Razer hasn't really innovated ever besides their sensor tech and their optical switch tech. Outside of their sensor tech and optical clicks, what have they really done great and original? If you don't have a Superlight, then you don't have a Viper V2 Pro. If you don't have the Superlight, you also don't have the Death Adder V3 Pro. If you don't have an EC, then you don't have a Death Adder V3 Pro, right? If you don't have a G502, you don't have a Razer Basilisk. If you don't have the G305, you don't have the Orochi V2. If you don't have a Final Mouse, you don't have a Viper Mini Signature Edition. If you don't have a Wuting 60, then Razer don't make the firmware update to the Razer Analog Mini. And you bet your ass they're gonna make a new Razer Analog Mini to actually compete with the Wuting a bit better. If you watch Optimum Tech's video, it's kind of like a brute force implementation onto the existing Razer Analog Mini. I hate to kind of have a sour message towards the company, but it really feels like it needs to be said, you know? With the Cobra, it's just basically saying like casual consumers don't deserve any innovation. And Razer obviously has a history, like I've just showed you, that they don't innovate, you know? And guess what? Razer has come after all of these ones, you know? We're just hoping that the Viper Mini gets the Viper V2 Pro treatment. Will it ever? Who knows?